Hey everyone, Guy from Midwinter Minis here. In this video I'm going to show you how to get the Commissar from the Traitor Command Blackstone Fortress expansion painted up super fast with a very limited colour palette without sacrificing too much quality. It's been a while since I've painted those Space Nazi themed Traitor Guard, so I needed a little refresher on the steps I used. I'm sure I wrote the steps down somewhere, but it was quicker just to pull up the tutorial video. YouTube in YouTube. Is this Inception? As I wanted this guy to have a black leather trench coat, I decided to give him a spray primer of black. Ugh, black on black again. Hang on. There, that's better. Right, timer on. And it can be tricky to see all the details when the entire model is black, so the first thing I'll do is give the whole model a very light dry brush of grey to make things a bit more visible, and to quickly highlight the black areas. The grey should dry pretty much immediately, so switch over to your standard brush and use your khaki flesh tone colour. As we're painting over black and this colour is quite light, we'll need at least 2 thin coats. Thin it nicely so it won't obscure any detail and paint the head, the hand holding the pistol and the billowing flag, and the skull on his backpack. Instead of watching paint dry, crack out your red paint and hit the fabric between his legs, the lining of his coat collar and the furniture of his bolt pistol. When you've done this, swap back to your flesh tone, which should be dry by now, to add another thin coat, and then back to red once that's dry enough. This is how a single thin coat looks, obviously quite transparent and patchy, and this is how 2 thin coats looks over black. Still not perfect, but it'll do for our purposes. Now let's start building up a little texture and a few highlights. Mix your khaki colour with white in about 1:1 ratio, and lightly dry brush this using your standard brush over the face, the flag, and his bolt pistol hand. As we've already got a nice dark base coat for the metallic parts, we can go straight in with our silver paint, hitting the chest plate, the belt buckle, the grenade, his chaos trinket, the rest of the bolt pistol, the power fist, his backpack, and all the little armor plates and spikes on his shoulders. To differentiate his trousers from his jacket, and to help him fit in more with the Traitor Guard we already painted, we'll paint his trousers grey too. We'll also dry brush a grey-white mix onto the debris on the base. At this point, if you've got any other colours on his black coat, tidy them up with black to keep things neat before we go on to the next stage. Now here's how things look after just 20 minutes of hands-on painting time, all ready for the wash stage. The first shade wash we'll be applying will be brown, and paint this all over the areas we painted with khaki or red. Now once you've done that, go take a break for a few minutes to let your paint dry. If you've got a dog, give her a tickle, and then come back to the Traitor Commissar and apply your black wash to all of the other parts. So at about 28 minutes, we've got a pretty basic but serviceable paint job that will give the model some character during the game. There are a few more easy ways we can start picking out detail and enhancing the look, but before that, a quick shout out to Michael and Rick who kindly donated to the channel since our last video, and to our new patrons: Oliver, Kim, Chris, James, Arlen, Daniel, Josh, Nick, Colin, Antoine, Sebastian, Marcelo, Chris, Dave, Alift, and Hamish. They all jumped the gun and signed up to our Patreon before we even mentioned it in any of our videos. Keen beans, one and all. If you want to join the party, it's just $2 a month. Check out the link in the video description for more info. Right, back to the painting. The first thing that you might want to do is bring back a little more saturation to the red and add a little detail at the same time. With your detail brush, mix a tiny bit of yellow into your red paint, thin it nicely, and carefully paint the upper portions of the coat lining, the raised parts of the fabric between his legs, and the case of the bolt pistol. You can also add a few little areas to the pipe that connects his power fist too. Next, we'll mix up a highlight for the skin using white and our original khaki flesh colour thinned with water. Using your detail brush, add some highlights to the face and head, as always just trying to bring attention to the prominent parts like the brows, the nose, the cheekbones and chin. Don't worry too much about obscuring the weird chaos symbol on his face too much, as we'll be bringing this out a bit more later. And while you've got this colour mixed, don't forget to pick out his fingers and the back of his exposed hand. Now we'll add some shine back to the metal areas. Using your detail brush and unthinned silver paint, carefully dot, scrape and streak silver across any large exposed areas of metal, avoiding the recesses to keep them nice and dark. Next, I created a very light purple wash to give the skin a creepy undead look. Learning my lesson from accidentally making the Wiggly Boys look like Count Von Count, I made this wash mixing purple with water in about a 1:10 ratio. Thinner is better at this stage. If you need more of the effect, you can wait for it to dry and add more. Okay, now we can bring out a little bit of detail in that leather trench coat. The trick to painting black fabric is that really, if it's black, most of the area should actually be black, not grey. To keep the dark tone, I added some very light streaks of grey using my brush in tight groupings, and only in very small raised areas of the coat. Leather has this really nice intense shine and contrast, so we want to be quite controlled with our highlights. I then mixed some white paint 1:1 with water, and using my detail brush again, I just added tiny dots to the central parts of these grey streaks. This gives the effect of texture and also an intense shine, sort of like non-metallic metal but for leather. The final step before we call it on this Traitor Commissar is to add some tiny details to the banner. I use black wash rather than black paint to keep things a bit subtle, and my detail brush. I very lightly tapped some thin lines onto the banner, simulating tiny text, and sketched out a really basic Chaos Star too. You can practice this on your palette or a piece of paper first, just to make sure you know what you're doing when you're painting the actual model. And there we go. About 52 minutes in, and we've got a cool looking Commissar ready to inspire those Traitor Guard against your explorers in the Blackstone Fortress. I asked the members of our Patreon Discord to guess how long this paint job would take, and James Z was the closest. He must be psychic or something. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed it, please hit the like button to teach YouTube a lesson, and subscribe if you want to. Anyway, catch you next time. Bye for now.